So welcome, it's Andy here from D6 Evolution along with Dan from Glasshammer Gaming.
Hi guys and girls.
So Dan is from Team England and he's going to be telling us how to make Space Marines awesome again.
yeah.
Well, as
I
close to
should have
awesome
a
as you
campaign,
can.
shouldn't I? Make
Yeah.
Marines great again.
So guys, what we're going to do in this video is first of all, Dan's going to go over what he thinks is competitive with pure Primaris and a little bit of Space Marines. And then we're going to expand out, talk about some of the cooler, more unusual allies you can take with the Space Marines and Imperium in general. Dan's got his own website. He's running Glasshammer Gaming. And why don't you tell us about it quickly, Dan?
Yeah, we set Glasshammer Gaming up really just as we were going to start like YouTube battle reports, all that kind of thing, and then it quickly escalated into I wrote to Games Workshop about getting an account with them, and then we got that sorted. So and obviously off the back of that, we got a shop sorted. So we're selling models out left, right, and centre, and then we started getting messages asking us for advice on lists. So we started a list writing service for everyone, and that's doing really well now as well. Mm-hmm.
So Dan, why don't you kick us off? Why don't you tell us about what you think makes a good Primaris list at the moment?
Okay, so you've not got a massive amount of units to choose from, but one unit that I think's really flown under the radar is the Repulsor.
Yep.
It's actually a great tank. It's got so many guns on it. It's unbelievable, and it's toughness 8. It's got fly, which is that all important rule where you can't just touch it and it stops shooting. So it's good. It's got that. It's got loads of guns. I mean, you stand captain and lieutenant next to it, or more importantly, you stand Bobby G next to it. So it's rerolling hits and wounds. Like I said, it's toughness 8. It's got you can transport Primaris Marines around. I mean, a lot of the Primaris Marines, they suffer with range. Like your Aggressors, your heavy Hell Blasters, all that kind of thing. So it can transport them, keep them safe. And I mean, a toughness 8 with, I think it's got 16 wounds or something a bit silly.
Yeah.
It will keep them there. And also, I mean, it's got smoke launchers if your opponent deploys away from you. But I mean, if you do go the Bobby G route,
everything's better when you're re-rolling hits and wounds, isn't it, buddy?
Oh yeah,
it just makes life good.
It actually makes Space Marines worth their points, is what it does. But Tiggy works really well with the Repulsor. And I know Tiggy isn't a Primaris Marine, so we're straying slightly. But he can just give an Ultramarines unit -1 to hit. And that happens at the beginning of your opponent's shooting phase, so you don't even need first turn for it. So that Repulsor at toughness 8, -1 to hit, that's really good. Plug that in with defensive positions. If you don't get first turn, it's now got a 2+ save. But I mean, say you did get first turn, you can Tiggy has a power, Might of Heroes. I think it goes off on like Warp Charge 5, and Tiggy re-rolls all his psychic rolls anyway, and it makes it toughness 9. So it's really going nowhere. Do you know what I mean? It's a great little unit, and I actually think, like, we have kind of, I think you can fit 5 Repulsors and Bobby G into a list. It is possible. I have written that list and then thought, no, I can't send that to anyone. But it's a half decent list,
Yeah.
I think you'll see it.
Because they've come down in points, haven't they? Both Tigarius and the Repulsors have come down in points, so it's got that a little bit more efficient. So yeah, if you get first turn, if you're not in range, you're popping those smoke launchers. If you are in range, you're just letting loose on all of those shots, aren't you? And so one of them being toughness 9, awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. And I think I'd take 1 and just do that trick. The whole Tiggy makes it -1, makes it toughness 9, and you just kind of float it up the field, keeping Gilliman safe until he can go and punch something in the face. I think it's an awesome little unit. I think it's great.
And he could be -2, can't he? Your opponent's turn, if you go first, he's -2. -1 from the smoke launchers, -1 from Tigarius.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. It's just nothing shifting that. Then it's not going anywhere.
Okay, so say you wanted to get a little bit crazy and you didn't want to just take repulsors and Bobby G.
Why? Why? Why would you
What
want anything
else?
else to be?
What else can you bring in the list?
So, I went to the winter warm up the last weekend, which was an event run at Element Games, and there was a guy there who was actually on one of the top tables on the final round with Primaris Marines, and he was actually doing something really clever. He took one of the new Vigilus formations where you take them as Ultramarines. And then you can use your captain has a warlord trait or something like that where he picks another faction's warlord trait, chapter tactic to apply to your marines and stuff like that, your Primaris Marines. So he was picking Raven Guard, obviously, because that's the other great one. So all of a sudden all your marines are -1 to hit, but then he was taking it's Arjak, isn't it, or something, the Space Wolf, no, Najal Storm.
Okay.
The Space Psyker, and then there's a Dark Angel's psychic power.
Yeah,
it's called Aversion.
Okay, so you're stacking the minuses to hit, aren't you? Because Dark Angels get 2 of them. They get Aversion, and they get, I think it's like Mind Wipe or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so you take a Dark Angel's Libby, and you give him those 2 powers. Najal has a similar thing as well, and then you take Tiggy to make, because they're all Ultramarines, you make them -1.
Yeah.
So you're just stacking all these -1s on top of one another.
Really cool. That is.
Yeah, and it was a really
crazy
list, and I was gutted I didn't get to play against it. I'd love to, but that was actually tasty. It was doing well. It was catching people off guard, which was really nice to see. It was really good. And I cannot remember the gent's name who was running it. I'm really sorry, mate, but you're not getting the recognition you deserve. But
that is brilliant.
Yeah, but no, it looked like a good list. He was doing really well with it, and so fair play to him. So guys, get going through those different books and write that list out. It's really good.
Yeah, I think Vigilus is giving. We'll get onto this later, guys. But Vigilus is giving a lot of units which you don't see so often a lot of legs now, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's to be honest with you, it's made Guard absolutely ridiculous. Like,
because they were underpowered before.
But I know, God, it's made Guard so hard hitting now. It's just madness. It's if you're running, I mean, if you want to run an Imperium list, with a bit of soup and whatever, you've just got to have a Guard detachment. If you want to do any good, you will have Guard in your army.
Well, we'll come on to that in a minute. Have you got any more Space Marine tips before we move on? What else do you think is competitive?
Any more? So, I mean, when I'm writing a Space Marine list, always start with 3 Black Templar Scouts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just don't ever leave the your list writing hole without 3 Black Templar Scouts. They're amazing. They should, when you're playing Yunari, to just deploy them right up front and just start shutting down that really important power straight away.
Yeah,
it's so good. It's really, really important, I think.
So just quickly explain to the guys who Space Marines maybe have been gathering a bit of dust and they can't quite remember what that Black Templar strat is.
Yeah, so Black Templars, their kind of their chapter stratagem is if the enemy casts a psychic power within 24 inches of one of your Black Templar units, you spend 1 command point, and on a 4+, you just turn it off. Shut it down.
It's amazing.
So they go, look, I rolled a 7, I got Soul Burst. Just turn it off.
Yeah.
Or Quicken, or any of these stupid Eldar powers. But even the Mort. I've played games against Mortarion and Magnus and stuff like that, and all of a sudden, Magnus wants to double move Mortarion. Just shut it down. And there's nothing they can do about it. It's brilliant. It's great.
And these lists, they only take 1 or 2 powers to fail, and they start falling apart, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I said, because they still have that ability to deploy out of their deployment zone.
Yeah, you can reach them turn 1, can't you?
Yeah. There's nothing they can do about it. They can't get out of that range. So it's really good. The other thing that while I've been writing lists, I've actually thought about. So a lot of events now, they're starting to use the new chapter approved system of you roll a dice. If you win the roll off, you pick your deployment zone, and then your opponent just deploys everything, and then they get to choose who goes first and second. So it doesn't seem that big a change, but it's massive in terms of making crap units really good again. So like Raven Guard, their old chapter tactic strat of you just you infiltrate 9 inches away at the start of the game. That was amazing before. So you go, I got first turn. Here's 12 aggressors in your face, and I'm going to shoot you with 250 bolter shots. It was amazing. But then
hold on, it was amazing if you were playing it, not against it, Dan.
Oh yeah, it was amazing for me. It was great. Winning that roll off was it was awesome. But now so then Games Workshop nerfed it and said, it's just a 9-inch move before the game, which was pretty pants. But now, if you know you're going to get to go first, unless your opponent rolls that 6, that then means you can put your aggressors on the line, and then it's not a 9-inch away from them, but it's still a 9-inch move, and then aggressors can move and run and fire normally, and so that becomes really good. Or you could go, you could take a unit of 9 scout bikers with Raven Guard, deploy them on the. If you go, I'm going to get to go first, deploy them on the line, move 9 inches forward, then move 16 inches forward or whatever scout bikers move, and then unload 60 bolter shots into them. It's there's some really cool that Raven Guard strat has gone from being amazing to being rubbish to being not as amazing, but it's actually quite useful now. It's really good.
It's an emotional roller coaster for these Raven Guard players,
isn't it? I'll tell you what,
yeah. Sticking with Primaris for a moment, so I've always thought my standout unit in all of the Space Marines has been Aggressors. I absolutely love them. They're really hard to make effective use of because of their short range, but I mean, if you're defending a gun line, they're phenomenal.
That's it. I mean,
or if you brought 5
I played them as Raven Guard, so I did just pretty much just chuck them forward to start with. But then when you don't win that roll off and you don't get to go first, I was thinking, they're rubbish if you don't get to go first. But using them for that beta strike or to zone off those areas, they're actually really useful. They're great. Aggressors are, because they're, like I said, they're infantry, so you just sit them behind a wall, and then as soon as anyone gets in close into their range, they move forward and just unload hell onto them. But then the other great thing that I started doing with them was instead, if your opponent's quite a deep strikey army, say they've got these the Bloodletter Bomb, for example, pull your scouts back and sit them back and sit on objectives and wrap with your aggressors.
That's amazing.
Because Chaos doesn't have that much shooting, especially if it's got a Bloodletter Bomb, it doesn't. So then if they want to deep strike in and do their 3d6 charge, they have to land within 12 of the aggressors. And then the aggressors intercept them and just wipe out a 30-man unit of Bloodletters. It's brilliant. They're really good wrapping units because of that intercept stratagem, and people always forget about that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Especially as no one's really played Space Marines in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what that's what's going to win you tournaments. You can take this Ynnari crap and everything, but everyone knows what they do now. So you make one little mistake, you're going to lose your army. But if you take these kind of off the beaten track armies, it's about catching people off guard, and that's how you're going to win your tournaments.
Yeah, and obviously you won your GT last year, didn't you? The Battlefield. It was last year, wasn't it? You won that big.
Oh yeah.
You won that with Aggressors, so he does know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. That was how many aggressors was that? It was a lot of aggressors either way. It was loads of aggressors and a buttload of Devastator squads as well.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. Other things which I've had a bit of fun playing, the Inceptors, the jump pack guys.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on them?
I mean, I've used them. I really have tried to make them work. I mean, they're cheap for what they are. 135 points. for 18 heavy bolter shots, and they're toughness 5 with 2 wounds each. I think they are really good, but
it's the fact you can null deploy them as well, which makes them a bit better. I always think.
Yeah. It's the fact. The thing is that they deep strike, and then they've only got an 18-inch range. So I tend to find that, I mean, people were never worried about 18 heavy bolter shots anyway, really. But then if they were worried about it, they'd just bubble you out. So I could never really seem to do anything with them. They're a great unit on paper, but in practice I've never
fair enough.
much with them. But I mean, the plasma ones, I mean, I've played against you, haven't I? And you've had the plasma guys, and they've come down and done a lot of work.
Dark Angel's plasma is epic for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, they're evil. They are. They're really good. I think they're a definite include in a Dark Angel's army.
Yeah. So that's our ideas for sort of generic Marines. So guys, if you want to know sort of other things which are quite cool, a little bit off the beaten track, Deathwatch Marines, very, very tasty.
They won't been off the beaten track for a while, for long, mate. They're quickly since Steve Box, a close friend of Glasshammer, and Steve Box is a Glasshammer Gallant, which is a reveal. But more of that is to come. We'll reveal what Gallant. But he went to the Warhammer World GTs with Deathwatch and just smashed face. He went there. I think he went four wins and a draw.
Yep.
So he went undefeated with Deathwatch, and he kind of came on our kind of live talk, open the vaults, and he was telling people these different tricks and stuff that he had, and they're very layered. So you just think, oh, they're just Marines, they're just Marines with storm shields. That's all they are. But they've got so many cool little stratagems and little tricks and combos and stuff like that. They're quickly becoming a top list. So you'll start to see Deathwatch a lot more.
Yeah. So guys, if you're wondering what Deathwatch we're actually talking about, it's Deathwatch Veterans. So they're awesome. So they have a Stormbolter, which you get special issue ammunition. So the really cool one is that they wound on 2s against non-vehicles.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the only one you'll use.
They've also got one which adds AP, which is pretty cool as well. But so Stephen Box was able to go to the GT and obliterate Talos, a full Talos list, which is one of the top meta lists here in the UK. So they've got that, and plus when the Talos come into range, you can use a stratagem to basically intercept them.
Yeah, they just shoot them standing right there and then in the Eldar movement phase.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
So it's really cool. They can fall back and still shoot when they add in a little vanguard. So there's a lot of mileage there. They can heroically intervene with some of their units. They've got some really cool tricks, haven't they? So I think adding a Deathwatch detachment is a really cool way of still keeping it on theme, keeping it Marines, but adding some really, really spicy things to it, and really helping with some of those harder to counter units like Talos, where the high toughness really does make them difficult.
Yeah. Talos are still kicking ass on the scene at the moment. I mean, I played them at a tournament the other weekend, and there was just nothing, because they've got that 4-up invuln, and it was Mark Crumbleholm that I was playing.
I've played Mark Crumbleholm's Talos as well.
He's a great guy, but when they just keep passing saves, I love Mark, but for that turn, for that phase, I hated him. He was scum of the earth to me when I was giving him 20 saves and he was failing 2 of them. I could have sat there and cried.
Yeah. I've had that very experience against Mark at the last GT I went to with my Custodes. It was, buddy, it was interesting. Great guy.
Don't get me wrong, he was an absolute
legend. But
he came and gave me a hug while he was smashing me, and he even bought me a drink and everything as well. So
no, he's a great player, really, really humble guy, but God, he's good. And those Talos are horrendous. So that's Deathwatch, and obviously, guys, Storm Shields, like 2 points now, or something ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's so good. The thing is, though, it actually, by doing that, they made Space Marine veterans really good. You think, oh man, I think it's 18 points for a veteran with a Storm Bolter and a Storm Shield. So you're like, oh, that's brilliant. And then you go, well, actually, it's 20 points for a Death Watch veteran.
Who's just so much better.
But they wound everything on 2s. And they can deep strike, and they get +1 to wound, and they got
the strats, they can heroically intervene. It's crazy.
Yeah, they get all that for 2 points a model. It's madness. So, yeah.
Okay, guys, so now we are done with Marines. We're going to be talking about some of the more offbeat allies you can throw in there. So let's start with some of the weirder things you can bring in for Guard. And this is something Dan and me have been talking about because he's been helping me write a list. Mm-hmm. And it's a Lehmann Russ Punisher tank commanders.
Yeah. That's what I've been using.
Phenomenal. What chapter tactic did you use with them?
I would never put anything other than Vostroyan on them. Yeah. The Gatling cannon is absolutely awesome. 40 shots for 190 points. Well, it's more than you get 40 shots. The heavy bolter and the plasma cannon for 190 points. But it's only got a 24-inch range, and if you want to double fire it, it's a 29-inch threat range. Yeah. So you just need all the help you can get with that. So Vostroyan takes it up to a 35-inch threat range, and you also get the stratagem to hit on 2s.
Yeah,
it's +1 to hit, so you're hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. So I honestly don't think there's any competition. I have seen people try and run them as like Talon, so the plasma cannons don't get -1 to hit when they move and stuff. But
no, I mean that +1 to hit is huge because you can safely overcharge your plasma. The other tank order they've got is they can fire and shoot the smoke launchers on turn 1, so they're -1 to hit after double firing.
Yeah. That's really nice. I mean, it tends to be that you don't because the reason why you use that is because people try and null deploy you. I mean, 35 inches is a good range, but people can still sit out of range of that. So
for sure.
You tend to just move them the full 10, and then fire your smoke launchers.
Mm. So the other thing that the tank commanders can get now is, hey, Vigilus makes everything better, is they can make, the Hammer of Sundance or something like that. It sounds like a cowboy. It's like an ultra battle cannon, isn't it?
Yes, the battle cannon. Now, that's actually one change that I've made to my Cali list. I was running 3 Punisher cannons, but that battle cannon is just crazy. I think it's a normal battle cannon, strength 8 -2, but it's flat 3 damage.
Yeah.
And when you combine that with
double shoots,
firing twice, and then you can +1 to hit, so you're hitting on 2s, you're rolling 1s.
Yeah.
And then you put old grudges as a warlord trait.
Oh, yes, this is what we need to speak about. Old grudges, guys. It turns out there's other warlord traits apart from Grand Strategist. The thing is, no one's ever looked at them before. Someone used old grudges against my custodies the other night, and I was just in horror of what it actually does.
Oh, it's madness. I was reading through the codex because obviously chapter approved came along, and the FAQ came along and stopped the CP regen. So I was reading through the codex, and I come across it, and I was gobsmacked. I just couldn't believe how good this thing was. Like I was genuinely going through FAQs and stuff like that to try and find an errata to it, like, this only applies to infantry or something like that. But there's nothing out there, so that means all of your Punishers and all of your battle cannons are re-rolling to wound, which is mad.
Yeah. So guys, because I kind of interrupted down at the start there, so old grudges, warlord trait, you pick a unit after the battle started, before the first turn, so after they've deployed, and that one unit, all your detachment re-rolls its wounds against. So that's ridiculous. So I had a unit of 9 Custodes bikes, and he's like, he had, I think, 3 tank commanders, 3 Lehmann Russes. I'm re-rolling all my wounds against you.
Yeah, it's mad. I mean, the thing is, you only get to re-roll the wounds if you're within 6 inches of the warlord, the guy with the actual trait. And the thing is, like, before I found that warlord trait, I tended to spread my tank commanders out because they kind of operate on their own. They give themselves the reroll ones, and they just kind of move around. And I tried to make it so I could flank the enemy. Don't give them anywhere to hide from the firepower. But since I've discovered that warlord trait, they tend to be quite central and grouped up now, which I'm not as big a fan of. I have to admit, it does make you group up, but
you've still got that 5-inch move, and your little warlord commander. He's got the move ability, isn't he? So you can you can bounce them around. You can start them further apart and move them together, so that you're unlikely to get tagged by more than one. And you've got your 30 guys to screen, so it's not.
Yeah.
But bunching up your tanks is asking for trouble.
That's your thing. Don't let them get in combat. That should be your number one priority. Screen. Sacrifice anything to stop them getting in combat. Because once they are, you've lost 100 and how many is it? 129 plus the plasma shots as well. You're probably talking about 4 each. You're looking at about 140 shots turn that you lose if they go in combat.
And that's under 600 points, that list, isn't it? Those three dudes is well under that. It's insane. 570
points for 140 shots. Honestly, you won't find that any better.
It's just incredible. While you're there, just type in my order, yeah?
Yeah. Do you want 6 of them, yeah?
I was originally ordering 2, but while we've been on here, you've just upsold me to 3.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. That's why I opened the store.
As soon as I put this up, you're going to be getting orders, and I imagine.
Well, guys, but as we're talking about orders, Glasshammer website.
Oh, go on, get your plug in now. Go on.
.co.uk, 20% off. A sweet 20% off RRP.
Yeah.
As soon as you log on. So, I thought there's a little plug. Yeah. It's there.
You had to get it in. We've got one more plug at the end as well. We're going to do so. Right, so moving on from the absolutely ridiculous tank commanders, what other things in Imperium do you think are sort of ought to include in these lists if you're not just going to be taking Space Marines?
Yeah, okay, so, sticking with Guard, there's a really nice little plasma drop battalion that you can bolt on with the Tempestus Scions. Their plasma guns got a decrease in chapter approved as well, and now only 11 points. So, a nice little battalion of 2, what are they called? Tempesta Primes, and some Scions, and like 4 Scion squads with 2 plasma guns and a plasma pistol in each. Because the Scion special order that they have is that you can order them to re-roll wounds against things that are vehicles or monsters.
Yep.
So, it's dirt cheap to have all these plasma shots just drop out the sky and re-roll wounds and everything like that. So
that's pretty cool, but it doesn't stop there, does it? So
no, you can put as many plasma shots in that as you want, because you can take the command squads as well. And
so they've got a cool little trick where obviously they get extra hits. I think it's within half range, don't they? Extra dice once you hit stuff. Is there?
No, yeah,
their chapter tactic.
Your Tempestus Scion unit on 6s to hit, you can you get an extra roll to hit effectively. That's like that's what they get. That's why like Catachan's getting +1 strength and all that thing. But then there is a Vigilus formation.
Everything they said formations wasn't broken, by the way, but they as soon as we looked at them, they really are.
God, what they're amazing. There's a Vigilus formation where you can get them to jump out of a Valkyrie, and then they get +1 to hit when they do that. They don't die on a 1 when they jump out anymore, and they get +1 to hit, which means that all your plasma shots are doing extra shots on 5s and 6s. Instead, and so that's a nice little combo that you can put in there.
Yeah, and then the Valkyrie overwatches, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah, there is a strat to make. Yeah, if it's within certain range, it can overwatch. To be totally honest with you, I was quite disappointed with the Valkyrie. I was looking into it, and don't get me wrong, it's cheap. Sorry, it's cheap, and it's a great way of getting your troops up the board turn 1. Because they're not hampered by the deep strike rule. But I expected that, considering it's a gunship, I expected the guns to be a bit better, to be totally honest with you. But it's all right. It's another unit that's flying around harassing people. So
that's cool. So I think the other staple. So I think is that pretty much everything you think of for guard?
Yeah, tank commanders. That there is the one thing that I was trying to sell you on.
This is what I was unconvinced on, was it? The wyverns.
Yeah. There was a chap called. I did Manny's Monday night mashup video this week, and there was a chap on there called Ryan, who was telling me about the. Oh God, what's it called? Like the mortar, the Vigilus mortar detachment.
It's the Vigilus broken thing again, right?
Yeah. Just another broken one.
So a standard wyvern shoots 46 shots. For 2 command points, you can double it up, so they shoot twice.
It shoots 8d6.
And then one of the warlord traits, I think, gives them an extra rend on standard or on a 6. I can't quite remember. And and wyverns, they reroll wounds, so you get 8d6 shots. Rerolling wounds, I think you get an extra rend on a 6. I can't quite remember what it is.
Yeah, on a 6 to wound, it's -1 AP, and then it ignores cover as well with a relic that's in there. The Master of Ordnance does give that wyvern reroll 1s to hit. So you're hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s with 8d6 shots. It's nice. It'll do a lot of damage. It's the reroll wounds. It makes it deceptively amazing, even though it's only strength 4.
Yeah, it's ballistic skill 4, isn't it? That's the it's the 2 CP a turn it needs. I think is what put me off to kill probably on average a guard squad, but it's certainly not bad. But it's not bad, and I think if you're including them anyway, then that's a cool little formation to take.
Don't forget they've also got the other stratagem where you can. You can't shoot your wyvern if you use it, but you can just kind of target something, and it halves its movement and can't fire Overwatch for a turn.
Yes, now this is something I was talking to you about mixing in with my Custodes. So guys, Custodes have an awesome little stratagem where you tanglefoot someone, so you minus d6 from their movement in either the movement phase or the charge phase. And the key one here is the movement phase, because if you base to base someone and you roll a 5 or a 6 on a standard unit which moves 6 inches, they can't fall out of combat. So you trap units in combat, which is huge, because then Custodes fight again, they can't get shot. It's massive if you do that. Now, if you combine that with a wyvern and you half a unit's movement before you even throw that extra strat on, suddenly your standard guard infantry, which moves 6 inches a turn, you're trapping it in combat on a roll of a 2.
Yeah, as long as you don't roll a 1, they're not going anywhere.
Nope. It costs 2 command points, but to basically make your Custodes invulnerable for a turn, epic. Absolutely epic. So I was experimenting with running one wyvern just with my guard battalion. I'm not 100% on it yet, but I think it's got some play. I think the Tanglefoot grenade plus the plus that stratagem to half your opponent's movement in their movement phase is huge.
Yeah, and don't forget though as well the a big thing that hurts Custodes is Eldar with the Dark Reapers that are firing and fading behind the wall at the back. So a wyvern with 8d6 shots that is -1 on a roll of a 6 on a wound roll of a 6 and is ignoring cover. That's going to kill a few Dark Reapers. That is.
Yes, it will actually. Indirect fire shouldn't be underrated.
That help you out with one of your bad matchups.
One of my many bad matchups. Oh dear.
I'm not trying to sell Custodes, mate. I'm telling you, I've told you they're rubbish. I'll help you as much as I can, but they're pretty damn rubbish at the moment, mate.
I know. But you got to, with everything, you've got to do the best with what you've got, I think. Or beg, borrow, and steal Simon's knights as Custodes and everything else that I try and steal off him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Play Eldar. Easy.
Play 40k on easy mode.
Why not?
Who wants to do that? Dan did that all last year.
Oh, I did, and I was bored out of my mind. I couldn't take it anymore.
Got bored of them winning.
Sitting in a corner and hoping that I roll a 7 to soul list. Just so boring.
So other things. So moving away from from guard for a moment. I think Dark Talons still have a little bit of play to them. They've I think 3 Dark Talons in a list together with the Vigilus formation to +1 to hit. Has some play. I think they're a little bit overcosted, having running a couple of them with my Dark Angels list for a while. But their ability to pump out mortal wounds is a little bit unreliable. Can actually be quite good for taking down some things.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I've got them in my list purely because I needed some reach. Because I've got the Punisher cannons in there and a Gallant in my list as well. So I don't have any long range firepower. So it was kind of a choice for me whether to go down like kind of an artillery route for some long range firepower, or I use those because they can move 40 inches and fire. It gives me that ability to, if there's a unit sat at the back of a board somewhere, I can go and get them. They're not just sitting there shooting me all game, and there's nothing I can do about it. So that's why they're in my list, just to get some backfield units that I need to reach. So, but yeah, don't get me wrong, they're not. I don't think they're amazing for 200 points. I think they're pointed quite well. But yeah, they do have their uses in certain lists that need that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And obviously, you mentioned the Gallant. Gallant's a very points efficient choice as well, isn't he?
Yeah, just so good. I mean, I honestly I wouldn't recommend taking any more than 1 Imperial Knight. I mean, I've stuck with a Gallant and 2 Warglaves. The Warglaves are there because I really need the command points, and I need something to kind of sit in the middle of the board. So they do that quite well. I mean, they're toughness 7. They sit there. They've got a 30-inch range on their melter gun, so they sit in the middle of the board and they watch the Gallant just run at things and smash. So yeah, which is really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to give, and obviously you can only do it with 1 knight, which is why you only on 1. But to give a knight a 2+ save and a 3 up invuln is just mad.
Yeah.
Just honestly, if you get average dice, it's near enough impossible to deal with it. If you roll slightly well on your 3 up invulns, it just frustrates the hell out of your opponent. It's really good.
Yeah. I think it's the ultimate distraction Carnifex, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, it's 670 points, I think, for that detachment. Of 3 big things that are just will soak up so much firepower. It's really points efficient. I really like it.
Yeah. So, guys, I think that's all of the main things to talk about. I think in terms of our ideas for. Well, mainly Dan's ideas. I'm not going to take too much of the credit for this. For both Space Marines and some of the cool allies they can take, which are a little bit off meta at the moment. Now, before we go, Dan, we have to talk about your tournament.
Yeah,
come on, buddy. Tell me all about it. The Glasshammer Open, isn't it?
We've got loads of exciting things happening. It's St. George's Champion. It's happening at the end of April. I believe it's the 28th and the 29th, something like that. It's like I said, we've got a new venue. It's the Wolverhampton University Telford campus, but it's an awesome hall. We've got like 3 massive halls. There's beer and food, everything available. Accommodation is on site as well. It's all there for you. We've got the last event we run, the Glasshammer Open. Everyone was just saying how great the terrain was, because every table had a mat, every table had really good line of sight blocking terrain. So obviously that's coming with us. But what we're really excited about is we're changing the rules pack up. So basically, we know people love the ETC, we know they love the ITC, and we know there's gripes with both of them. So what we've done is we've combined the two. We've taken the best bits of everything, and we're just looking to, every game that me and Manny play, 8th is getting really good now. Games Workshop are really honing in now on the good bits of the game. So even little things like the chapter approved missions that have the one person deploys the whole army first and then decides who goes first and second. It's actually really good for the game. It's so much better than alternate deployment and then roll off afterwards. Because there's tactics now. You can null deploy. You can deploy defensively. And you end up actually trying to get second turn a lot more now
than massive.
than first turn. It's just so much better. So we're actually we're saying that that is going to be spread out into every mission. We're using pre-placed objectives, so there's no stacking objectives on one side. You just, they're all there. So you want armies that can spread out over the table and control it well. Do you know? We're not using Maelstrom secondaries. We're using ITC secondaries. So it's not, oh, I was getting on real right, but the cards were rubbish for me. It's not just look at the draw anymore. You can choose your own secondaries.
Do you know what's really funny? Is me and Dan did our first ITC tournament a few months ago, and we were grumbling about it a bit. We went there, instantly changed over to it. I was an instant convert. So were you to they were just like ITC secondaries, clearly better.
Yeah, it is.
Clearly better
than Maelstrom. It's brilliant. It gives you something to play for, which is great. But on the other side with the ITC, the one thing that I didn't like was it's effectively a win-loss system, isn't it? You either win or you lose. But with the thing that I love about the ETC is its 20-0 system. So, even if you don't think you're going to win, you play to the end and you keep pushing and pushing for points, because you could get 2 points out of it or 4 points or something like that. So we've incorporated that scoring system into it as well. So there's always something to play for. So the missions are fun. You're picking your secondaries, so you're playing towards those. You're just fighting for points the whole time, and it actually ends up like the final games of the tournament become really interesting. Because, not everyone's on max points, because someone's had a 15-5 win and someone's had an 18-2 and all that kind of thing. So, and if the top table ends up like 12-8 or something like that, you start getting loads of movement round. And so we've kind of, me and Manny, we've been to a lot of tournaments, in our lifetime. And we've just kind of decided that, why can't we have the best of everything? So we're throwing it all in. We're testing the games. We're going to be playing a lot of battle reports with that rules pack, so everyone can see, exactly how it works and all that kind of thing. So, how good's your editing, Andy?
I can throw up a picture of.
What if I were to do this like this? Would the link appear in front of me there?
Oh yeah, it would. Yeah, just do that for me.
Yeah. That'll give you something to do later on tonight.
Damn you! Thanks, buddy. And the other thing to say, guys, is that Dan isn't lying. The terrain is amazing. Really functional, really cool.
Really hard on that. Yeah, to make sure that everyone has a good table. You go to these events and like the top 10 tables have really good terrain and mats and stuff, and then these people who've turned up with this amazing looking Necron army are just kind of sitting on the bottom playing in and out of shoeboxes and McDonald's cups and stuff like that. So no, there was none of that. We made sure every table is awesome, is really good terrain. And
so I went to Dan's last tournament, and I'll say it was awesome. Hopefully, I can't make the full 2 days at this next one, but hopefully Dan's going to let me be a stand-in for one day on the bottom table.
You certainly can. You can come on. You can come on. You can come on the stream. You can do whatever you want, mate.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. You can come and smash me on the bottom table with whatever Dan gives me for the day.
We'll sort some
just don't make me play Custodes. They're rubbish.
Yeah, you can stay down there with your Custodes. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Right, guys.
But tickets are available now, guys. Just go onto the Glasshammer Gaming website.
Yeah, and I'll put a link down there in the description as well. So be sure to check that out.
Awesome, thank you.
So, guys, if you're not subscribed to this channel already, come and subscribe to it. And while you're at it, check out Dan's Glasshammer YouTube page as well. All right, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.